before I start talking.
All right,
Go
pressing
ahead.
it right now.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the CSA March board meeting. We've been in executive session, which is usually what we do at the start of each meeting to discuss any contracts, legal matters, etc. And we're now, I need a motion to, well, I'm gonna call to reconvene. And there were no actions necessary to be taken from the executive session. We have minutes of our meeting of February 13 that need to be ratified. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Motion and a second. All in favor, raise your hand. Thank you. Pass. Any opposed? Oh, not everybody approved. Okay, I'm gonna make a few remarks at the meeting. We're almost 3-4 months into the year and there's a lot happening. First, and I think very important to our community is our traffic task force, and you're going to hear some reports on that, so I'm not going to preempt what they're going to say. But they have been working on the overall project of the circle, the quadrants, the streets into the circle, and Greenwood Drive from the circle on down to really past the gates and to the entrance to Club Course. They're going to give you where we stand now. These things seem to move very slowly. It involves the state. We've been talking to the South Carolina Department of Transportation. They've had engineers here on various things. And one of them is the signage, which we have requested their help, and they've started and given some descriptions, and you'll hear more of that. So I'm not going to go into and preempt anybody's report, but things are moving, but as they always do, they move slower than we like. We wish there would be a magic wand and we could just say it's done, but things don't get done that quickly. We're also still awaiting a decision from the Federal Appeals Court on the referendum case. When that case ruling is issued, we will be making an announcement to the community, so you will know very quickly after, the ruling comes down. So, and if people ask me, I have any idea of what's going to happen? Well, I have my hopes of what's going to happen, but when you're in court, you never know. And that makes things, and I haven't gotten used to it after all of these years of waiting for jury and decisions and Supreme Court decisions and appellate decisions of being very anxious as it gets closer and closer. So during this meeting, you will also hear a report from our communications task force, who has some very good news. As you know, we're trying to get information to you in a timely and orderly way about various things going on, so you will have information without having to request or say what's going on for you to comment. So we're trying to get that to you in various ways. I do want to make this comment here. I can't tell you how many emails I get or we get here from property owners who want certain questions answered. And most times those questions have already been answered in one of the news releases, the newsletters, or publications. And people just don't seem to read them or remember them. But there's a lot of information in those newsletters, and you will get most of your questions answered without having to individually request them. It takes a lot of time for staff or anybody else to respond to individual questions. And it's, and when it's already been answered, that just is a burdensome task that shouldn't have to happen. So please read those, and you'll be more attuned than you can have questions answered before you have to write somebody. But if you do have a question, you continue writing, because if it hasn't been answered or there's information we need to get to you, we will do that. As a reminder, we need your help, or you need to help. There is a tax referendum that's proposed by the county. And that tax referendum is to, replace a 1% sales tax that goes off by the end of this year and replace it with another 1%. Not an increase, it's the same tax. That 1% tax has in it a project and allocated $60 million to fund the circle solutions, the quadrant solutions, the entrances into the circle and down the circle. That's something very important to us. If you want to do something positive about the traffic issues, we need your help. Sam and I met with our county representative, Tom Reese, last week, and he's voted against it in the board. It's coming up for its second reading at the end of this month. And he says that he is getting more people telling him to not approve it, to vote no. When we question him about where the people are coming from, there are a substantial number of them coming from the north end of the island. They're not I end. We are not, apparently, according to him, making our voice known. So we are going to send you information, contact information, because he wants to hear that. He said, I want to hear from you. If that's what your community wants, I want to hear from you to know that. And he said, he would consider rethinking his position. So it's very important for you to reach out to him, and you will be getting the contact information very shortly from CSA, hopefully maybe even today. We can't solve the problem without money. Sea Pines can't raise enough money on its own to do what's needed. Sea Pines has no control over most of the streets. They are state streets, state highways, and we need the state to be involved. And we've been told that with this money, the state will not only help, they will maybe add some additional funding for certain things if it's needed. But this is very important to the state because they like to see where the community is also going to participate in, doing these kind of work and improvements and corrections. So please, those of you who we hear from that have problems, know the problems and express your angst about the problem. Now is the time for you to express that to the political world, and specifically right now to Tom Reese. And again, he's asked for it. Be civil in your request, but be strong and fervent, please. Our battery operated lawn equipment task force has been created and has had its first meeting. We will be meeting, conducting some additional meetings next month, and we'll be getting started on it. I want to add that the purpose of the task force, and there will be, I intend to appoint a property owners advisory committee. The purpose is to gather data, objective data on which a decision can be made. It is not just to come and express your opinion that we should or we shouldn't do it. We want to operate on a data-based process. And that database has to include, the ability for the equipment to do the job, the cost of that equipment as compared to gas equipment, the availability of that, and any other factor that becomes important. So, just having an opinion for it is one thing, but we're going to get that, we're going to get the data, and then we're going to start to make decisions, and we are going to be meeting with various landscaping companies as well. I'm going to preempt a couple of questions that have come in about the swimming pool at South Beach is closing. That pool is extremely old. It has leaks underneath the pool that cannot be repaired. With the work going on and redoing the South Beach area, the Salty Dog, that pool is also being renovated. The owner has an obligation to have a pool. CSA has an obligation to require the owner to have that pool. But when things like pools break down, deteriorate, they have to be fixed. And everyone needs to understand that you've experienced this before in your own world when something breaks down. And you've seen so many of the signs in airports and everywhere else, please, excuse our renovations. But those have to happen or there will be no pool. So for all intents and purposes, there is a pool. There will be a pool. It's temporarily shut down until it can be renovated. Now, there is another pool. There's a pool at Harbortown, which property owners can go to. So for those of you who need a pool, it may be far away from you, but you can go to Harbortown and use that pool in the meantime until this work is done.
Dave looks mad.
Yeah, you want to go ahead.
Just make sure that the property owners reach out to the Sea Pines Resort and Rob Bender. Like all things, pools have limitations and folks that can be there at one time. So please reach out to Rob and understand the rules of Sea Pines Resort's pool, just like the pool at South Beach with its rules and limitations on occupancy.
Thank you, because that needs to be added. Now, I preempt that because there are a number of questions that come in and about the pool, and primarily they're from people in that area of South Beach. And so, we know that that's a problem. We know it's an issue, but it's a thing that goes on in life when things need to be rebuilt and, replaced and repaired. So I'm sorry that it didn't last forever, but that's life and we do what we have to do. But there is going to be a pool. And we have no indication of anything but that agreement is going to be carried on the same way. So I don't know how to emphasize that to anybody, but, and I know that may not satisfy the inconvenience you have, but, it's one of the inconveniences of life, but please take advantage of the Harbortown pool. And as Sam said, contact Rob Bender at the resort so that he can, give you whatever information you need about how you need to access that or anything else. With that, that's the end of my remarks. And we will go into, unless the board has some questions, we will go into the president's remarks.
Mr. Chair, I'm going to hold my remarks to the manager report.
Okay. Let's do the management report. We have communications. Stephanie, I see you're on. You want to come alive? There you are.
Good morning. I have just a few updates and reminders to share with you all. The first reminder I have is for the 2024 annual meeting. This meeting will be held via live webinar on Tuesday, May 7th from 10 a.m. to noon. Proxies to establish quorum for this meeting will be sent out on the first week of April to members in good standing as of the March 8th date of record. Please be sure to keep an eye on our weekly emails for more information about proxies, registering for the webinar, and meeting materials. This information will also be posted to our website at seapinesliving.com/annual meeting. Speaking of our website, the RBC Heritage Resource webpage for property owners was posted earlier this month. This page contains helpful info such as road restrictions, hang tag information, FAQs, the trolley schedule, and operational updates. You can view this page at seapinesliving.com/heritage. And lastly, as David mentioned, a communications task force was created this year to set up guidelines for enhanced and proactive communication with the community. 2 very productive meetings have taken place, and Jim Caskey, the chair of this board task force, will be providing an update on what the task force members have been working on. Jim, if you're ready.
Okay, is that a cue for me, Stephanie?
That's for you, sir.
Okay, thanks. Just wanted to share with the board and the community that we are shifting gears a little bit on how we want to approach communication from a traditional way we approached it with, the newsletters and kind of in a responsive way to more proactive, more leadership, more authority, more unity about what's going on in the community. And Stephanie and we have outside consultants helping us on developing a robust public relations process to increase the level of communication and the channels in which we do communicate. And the communications are all about sharing what's going on within our community, reinforcing what is CSA, what are the roles, what are the responsibilities, and what are the various positions that CSA takes in the context of serving all the different stakeholders that we represent as a board. The task force has also identified a series of priorities where we want to be prepared, as well as increase information about various activities around the community. Our chair has already referenced the referendum case that's under appeal. We are going to be very prepared for informing the community about whatever the judge's decisions are and what our response to those decisions would be, as well as continuing to update and inform the community about the infrastructure, the flow of funds, the priorities of the projects. And then, as we've already talked as well, the gate and the traffic around the Sea Pine Circle, what we're doing in that regard. So we are we have created a communications guidebook, a strategic plan, if you will, that will describe how we will be increasing our visibility and our publications across the email letters, Facebook page, website, social media, YouTube, all of those different channels that various people access. So I think it's hopefully the community is going to feel a difference in what's already being done by Stephanie and her team relative to the change and the upgrade of the website and the content within the weekly email notices, which, by the way, are opened and read by about 70+%, correct, Stephanie, of us homeowners in terms of, so we have an active community wanting to be informed, and we hope to be able to feed the information appropriately. So any questions from my board there? Stephanie, we covered those bases. You good with that?
You did great.
All right, great.
Very excited. I think it's going to be a very productive and great year. So. And that was all I had, really. Just did want to remind the community, if you do have any questions, please email them to info@csaseapines.com, and I'll be happy to answer those questions for you as quickly as possible.
David, you guys are mute.
Somebody muted me. They didn't want me to talk.
There you go. Now you're on.
Bob Gossett, the owner of South Beach, is on the board, and he's attending. Bob, do you want to add anything to what I said about the swimming pool situation? And if you do, you're on mute, so take yourself off mute. Okay, well, we'll come back to it later on. Okay, the next item is a community infrastructure. Russell, where are you? I saw you. There you are. You want to go ahead with that?
Yes, sir. Good morning, Mr. Chair. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Good morning, and thank you very much. I just wanted to provide a couple of quick updates this morning. First, South Sea Pines Drive construction. We are wrapping up our stormwater drainage repairs and installation activities. We're starting to segue into leisure trail and roadway milling and paving operations. The milling operations are going to start here later this week for the road, and the paving operations are scheduled thereafter the following week, weather permitting. So we're bringing those major aspects of the project to completion here soon. Those things will be followed by line striping, stamp crosswalks, things, site cleanup, and things of that nature over the coming weeks. Obviously, we're pushing to get the majority of this or all of it done as far as the road and leisure trail before the tournament. And then there will be some minor landscaper and things like that we have to take on thereafter. So just want to thank the property owners for the continued patience and understanding during the course of all this work, and for their patience for the upcoming weeks ahead as the traffic delays and will continue during these operations while we have all these pieces of large equipment on and about the roadway. So moving on, quick update on Tower Beach. Our contractor has made repairs to boardwalk number 13, which is more accessible than it was, restoring it to the previous elevations before all the erosion took place. And then we are currently working on boardwalk number 14, which should be completed here later this week. And we've taken the same approach with number 14 to restore access for the property owners Again, after all that beach erosion that we encountered over the last few months. Couple other things to note, recently completed projects include Beach Boardwalk number 16, the Heritage Woods Leisure Trail, and then scheduled projects are Beach Walk 39, which is by the near the Sea Pines Beach Club, and the Marsh Island Vehicular Bridge repairs are also scheduled this spring. South Island PSD has been working on their waterline project in lots 3 and 4. They recently completed the resurfacing of the leisure trail, and they're wrapping up operations here before the tournament, and then we'll resume in lots 1 and 2 thereafter with their installation of their waterline up towards the Greenwood Gate area. So that's my report this morning, Mr. Chair, and glad to take any questions that you may have.
Well, let me ask you a couple of things. One, I want to recognize Russell for getting an emergency permit on Tower Beach, so we could get that addressed much sooner than the normal way of doing it. So thank you very much for that, Russell. I'm sure the community appreciates it. And then I have one question on the repaving of the leisure trail that the Public Service District is doing. Do they come in where I've noticed, the paving is up high and it drops off on the side? Do you smooth that out, or do they smooth that out so people go off the pavement?
They'll be adding some soil along the sides of the leisure trail to kind of ease that edge along lots 3 and 4.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And in addition to that, Jared Mays and I did some looking yesterday with the contractor, and they're going to continue to do backfilling. There are some areas where they've replaced it, but they've done a good job. But the contractor was actually backfilling yesterday.
Okay.
And so anything else that needs to be done that we want done, Jared's crews will certainly take care of that.
Good, good. I just noticed when I drive by and I figured that was going to happen, but I wanted to hear.
Russell has done a fantastic job with Sea Pines Drive, Tower Beach, and managing Southbound Public Service District all at the same time.
Russell, did you say when you bring the construction at South Beach to a pause before the visitor center? What visitor season?
As I indicated, we'll be bringing the major operations to a close here before the tournament. There's some other things that we need to accomplish, such as there's some adverse impacts to some driveways, some landscaping that we need to accomplish. And then there's some other project details that will happen thereafter. Just need to schedule those out. But the major activities will wrap up here pretty quickly in the next week or so.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, Russell? Anyone? Hearing no questions, we will move on to Jared on community maintenance.
Good morning. How y'all doing?
We're doing good. I hope it's good as you.
I'm just going to go very briefly this time. I know some other folks have a lot to talk about, so I'm just going to give a couple updates on some of our divisions. As y'all have possibly seen or seen in the newsletter, our tree care contractor has been working on the beach walks, removing dead wood and hazardous trees and trimming any palms that need it. I think they're on beach walk either at the end of 25 or on 24 this morning, and they should be done probably 2 to 3 weeks from now, right in time for our busy season. So all those have been gone through by a certified arborist and should be good to go for the year. Our carpentry and signs division, many of you have probably seen them out painting the roadside signs and freshening those up, changing out ones that have been faded from the UV rays, and they start to crack after a couple of years, so we've been replacing those. Also upcoming, we're going to be working with Russell to install new signage for the Sea Pines Drive project. So those will not only have nice asphalt and nice stormwater, but hopefully have some nice pretty signs to look at. Facilities maintenance. I don't know if anyone's had a chance to go down to Tower Beach. I know I spoke about us redoing the floors, but we actually just repainted the insides and outsides of the restrooms as well. Kind of brightened it up a little bit and looks a lot more inviting and just a little fresher, brighter look for the restrooms. As y'all have mentioned, for our roadside asphalt repairs, the leisure trail was overlaid on Governor's Road. We did send staff out this morning as well. The contractor did fill in some areas, but with some of the dirt we have at the pit, we're just gonna fill in some of the larger drop-offs. It's just cheaper for us to do it. We already have the dirt than to have them bring everything in, so that should be done by the end of today or tomorrow. Also, I know y'all have seen the CSA staff on the sides of the road. We've been grinding up some areas, prepping for mulch, putting mulch in areas, and it's kind of a hard time of year because the oak leaves are dropping just as fast as we're blowing them away or grinding them up. But we're trying to stay on top of it, and you'll kind of see us, another week or two from now, really blitz the stuff hard, just trying to balance the oak leaf drop with the mulch. So, then our lagoon maintenance, actually, it's kind of funny to mention this because it's surprisingly cold this morning. But just wanted to remind you, as the temperatures do increase this spring and vegetation blooms will start back up, and we're going to have staff out looking at them and monitoring and treating as needed. So just know that we are out actively looking at them as well, and sometimes it does take a couple days for the vegetation to die back. Our stormwater maintenance and repairs, we recently completed a pipe repair on North Calabogie K, I think near 24. Also, since our last meeting, we did some ditch clean out on Lighthouse Road near the Inland Harbor and Plantation Drive area. And we are currently working on a pipe repair on Royal Turn. And then I'm just going to make a quick mention for the community standards. So far in 2024, we have issued 444 violations. Only 14 of those have been escalated to stage 2 violations, and then only 3 have been escalated to stage 3 violation. And that concludes my report. I'm happy to take any questions anyone has at this time.
Anyone have any questions?
David?
Jim?
Yeah, I have more of a comment that, as we sit on the board on behalf of our community, and we went through the whole issue of how do we start to raise more money and funds, both operating and capital. And 88% of us said yes to the referendum, and we've been implementing it, spending in excess, I think, $10, $12 million. We've changed the land use rules. We've upgraded the whole facility. I think as a board, it's really great to see what our team is doing here. And I want to applaud Sam and his team about taking what the community said we really set as a priority: infrastructure, appearance, quality, safety, and the investments that are being made are really, I think, making a substantial difference. So I'm celebrating the work that the board did, but also acknowledge the excellent work of Sam and his team, because I think we all see it wherever we go in the community, that it is different than it was 4 years ago. So I just wanted to, sometimes we don't
Thank you, Jim.
to step back and say, wow, look what's happening that is making our community even better.
Thank you. Anybody else have any comments? Well, Jared, we thank you for your report.
Of course, thank you.
We have finance. And you're going to do that?
I will do my best.
This is a new Victoria over here.
No improvement at all. Unfortunately, Victoria is under the weather, and we wish her a speedy recovery. Nothing serious, but she just needs a few days at home to recover. So I'm going to do my best to give a quick update on the financial and administration piece, and then I'll ask Leanne Lakey to help me when we get to approving the budget amendment in the new business. Last week, the auditors were in. CSA's annual audit process has started. Auditors spent some significant time with the CSA employees. We look forward to getting a clean report back, as I believe we have done since I've been here and in years past. But I'll have that hopefully in the next 60 days and get it back to the Finance Committee and then to the board. But that process has begun. Our annual assessment collection rate is at a little over 85%, which is about where it normally tracks this time of year. We will be cutting off past privileges on April the 1st, and that will begin to really up the collection of the last 15% of those properties. We generally have a collection rate of 98, 99% a year. We do have certain properties that just annually they do not pay, and we will ultimately lien those properties or add the existing liens of those properties, and when those properties are sold, we will collect what's the cost of the lien and what's due CSA and recoup our collection rates or up our collection rate that way. And then finally, we're at 98% collection rate on our rental registration program. And then invoices for the second year of that program will go out later in the second quarter. I think that's everything that Victoria would normally cover. I will try and answer any questions the board members may have. If you have anything more specific than 1 + 1 = 2, though, I will send an email to Victoria and I will have her answer that question.
Anybody? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
The next one, David Henderson on operations and special projects. There you are.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good morning, everyone. Just had a few quick updates on the Forest Preserve. I'm happy to announce that the Forest Preserve Foundation successfully applied for a 2024 ATAX grant. This is through the town of Hilton Head Island, and the foundation was awarded a $40,000 grant that is going to be used to professionally create, fabricate, and install at least 20 new interpretive signs in the Forest Preserve. So we're really excited about this project. We're appreciative for the grant, and we look forward to getting that project completed before the end of the year. We think it'll be a really big add, especially since visitation just seems to be going up and up out there as we try to provide some interpretive information and give visitors a little bit more about what they may see and hear and experience while they're out in the Forest Preserve. The spring fundraiser, the Party in the Pines, is coming up on Saturday, April 6th. It's 4:30 to 7:30 p.m. Tickets are available now, seapinesforestpreserve.org. We'll link you to Eventbrite to get your tickets. Individual tickets are $60 a piece, and we also have a reserved table option if that's something that you want to consider. I just wanted to thank the resort for their continued support through their overnight stay program for the Forest Preserve. And I also wanted to give a shout out to the Salty Dog. They are once again generously donating all of the food and the service for the Party in the Pines event. The menu is out there. If you haven't seen it, you need to take a look. It's a tremendous value, even setting aside that this is a fundraiser. I know the words that my eyes went to on the menu for the upcoming Party in the Pines was prime rib, shrimp, and oysters. So take a look at that menu. It's delicious, and looking forward to it on Saturday, April 6th. Last thing I wanted to finish up with here was our land management program in the Forest Preserve. As you may have seen via your community emails and other messaging that CSA does, we've had several successful prescribed burns here in the last some weeks in the Forest Preserve. We hope to get another 1 or 2 in the next month to 6 weeks. Spring is typically the prescribed burning season in South Carolina and in the Southeast for that matter. We did have a successful burn last week. It was on Wednesday, the 13th. It went really, really well. And then you may have noticed last week on Thursday, which would have been the 14th, and a little bit on Friday, that there was a hint of smoke in the entire community. And wanted to let you know it wasn't us. Our fire, we were able to get it out. But there's a lot of other people that are conducting prescribed burns around us. On that day, the transport winds were out of the southwest. That's the direction the smoke goes. And so presumably the smoke that we had in the community second half of last week was coming from Georgia. So just wanted to let you know that while it may be us, if you see or smell smoke, often the case, depending on which way the wind blows, it's from someplace else. You may recall last year we even had some smoke from Canada. So the smoke does get around. That concludes my report. Be happy to take any questions you may have.
I mean, if y'all don't go to the Forest Reserve often, I recommend that you do, and just if nothing else, if you don't walk, ride around. I go over there at least once a week because I like forests, I like nature. And I can tell you it's amazing to me the number of increased visitation people I see as opposed to 4, 5, 6 years ago. Recently, when I went out there were cars, bikers, walkers all over the place, and it's a it's very nice to see people enjoy this. And then I have to add, David, that your bird watching events, when you do, once a week or two, I get somebody come up to me and tell me that's one of the most wonderful things that they've enjoyed out there. And I know they get filled up immediately, but I think that's a tremendous addition for the communities. And I think property owners as well as visitors would enjoy the forest preserve and the things that are offered there. The only thing I miss is that the fishing, since it no longer stock the fish because of the osprey eating the fish. My grandchildren and even me and my wife miss the fishing. So, thank you. Go ahead.
I just want to follow up on one thing that David mentioned, and I want to reiterate something David said and add a little bit to it. That we're very fortunate that the Sea Pines Forest Preserve Foundation has a couple of significant patrons, and Salty Dog being one of those, as well as Sea Pines Resort. Sea Pines Resort makes a significant contribution to CSA, or to Sea Pines Forest Preserve Foundation through CSA, that we use annually for operating and maintenance expenses and buying equipment. And without that, and the Salty Dog contributing and helping us with our events and making those successes, the foundation would not have a whole lot to work with. And David would be pushing a lawnmower out there and using a sling blade. So we're grateful to both the resort and Salty Dog. And I just want to say that publicly.
In my younger days, I was used to using sling baits.
Yeah, Sam, I'd just like to thank you for those comments on behalf of the resort. The Forest Preserve is a tremendous asset to our community, and we certainly see it that way. And, we don't want to have David out there pushing a lawnmower. So we want to continue to support all the efforts.
Thank you for your concern, Cliff.
And David, we
Yes.
had some out-of-town guests in this weekend, and we drove all around through the Forest Preserve. And I'm echoing what you said. I can't believe how it looks compared to years ago, and it is a treasure. And thanks to Salty Dog and the resort and all the work of the staff. But it's really a special place.
It is. Okay, no other comments? We'll go to safety, security, and transportation. Joe, there you are.
Right here. I'm going to stick my presentation just to some remarks of that little golf tournament that we have coming up in less than 4 weeks. This will be my first one. I'm very excited about it. And I want to say that so far I've been very impressed with how this tournament comes together, through so many parties involved, volunteers, the resort, the heritage folks, our people, and others. It is a very well-oiled machine. I was very actually relieved as we started working into some of the security and how this operation set up for the tournament. So y'all have a lot to be proud of with the people that have been running this for such a long period of time, that they all seem to know what they're doing, and everything coordinates and comes together rather quickly. So that's really good news. We've had a few meetings. Last week, myself and Captain Coleman met with Morgan and the Heritage Group. We met with PGA Tour Security and Captain Johnson with the Beaver County Sheriff's Office to discuss the tie-ins with security plans, operational plans, and some improvements for this year. Tomorrow, I'm going to be hosting a luncheon/meeting with a lot of the law enforcement agencies that assist us with security and operations at the Heritage Tournament. We couldn't do it without them. And it'll be just a meet and greet and to introduce myself to them, being my first year as the security chief, and discuss some of the security operations that we want to talk about at that point. Also, good news is the 2024 security plan is completed and in hand, and also yesterday received the site operational plan from the folks over at the Heritage. So everything so far with the tournament being still 4 weeks, just under 4 weeks out, everything seems to be on time and moving forward and on schedule. This year, finally on the security side, we're going to add some further highway patrol this year to the tournament for just added security for the players that are on course and some other locations. We're also going to have an increase in state law enforcement or SLED's alcohol unit specifically to deal with minors consuming alcohol. I have a meeting set up with them in the next few weeks to discuss some things that we want to do there. And then my staff is going to increase what I call them the sun up, sundown staff. They're here at 5:30 in the morning and they don't get to go home until everyone's gone. So that I'm going to increase that this year a little bit. That's on the security side. Just a few things I'd like to mention real quick about the transportation. David, our trolley manager, is doing a terrific job. He really runs a smooth operation with the transportation for the Heritage. There were some additions that were implemented last year that I spoke to him about that we're going to continue this year. They're both on the green route stops. That's the Sprint Road pickup and the Land's End stops. Somebody say something?
No, keep going, Joe.
Okay. So we're going to continue with those. They were popular. David said we're going to continue that. And what they call, I guess they referred to it as the white route that are going from Sea Pine Center back and forth to the playground over by Harbor Town. That'll be a continuous back and forth again this year. Some minor improvements. Some of the people had a hard time. All our trolleys are red, and obviously we have a red route included in there with the green and the blue. And there's sometimes people, believe it or not, get a little confused about going, which trolley am I supposed to be on, even though there was some markings. But this year there's going to be some will be larger white signs that are going to be on each side of each trolley, and there'll be the corresponding colors and text will go. So in other words, the trolley that's the blue route will say blue route. So that'll have a little less confusion for the people trying to find out which trolley and that they need to ride for the Heritage. And I think I'm pretty sure that the yellow route or the beach route from lot 8 to the beach starts. I think it starts the 24th, but obviously it's suspended during the tournament. And that's all the remarks I had for this presentation. If anybody's got any questions or comments, I'd be glad to hear them.
Anyone have any questions for Joe? Any comments?
I'd like for the board to note Joe's hair is mostly brown now, and we'll all note it after the tournament what color it actually is. As he steps into the role of chief of security for this little tournament with 29,000 patrons or whatever the number is this year each day. So good luck, Joe. We're pulling for you.
Thanks. I need it. I wanted to get here and then be gone.
It'll be a great time in Sea Pines.
We're gonna have fun. Thanks.
Thank you very much. All right, the next item on the agenda is the traffic task force report. Tom, you want to start that?
Yes, that'd be great, David. Just for some new listeners, I want to give a little background. So the task force was formed to solve the problem on Greenwood, since we're the principal recipient of problems. And what we're addressing is the congestion problem on Greenwood and also the safety. So that's the overall thrust, and we felt we had to take a leadership role because obviously this has been talked about for years. It's somewhat complex because it is a state highway, that is the circle. The town is involved, the county is involved in funding, and we have two commercial customers, Publix and the Riley Group, on either side of Greenwood. And basically we have a congestion problem going into our gate. And we also have a congestion problem and safety problem going into the circle. So that's what we need to work on. The task force, traffic task force is broken into two groups because we need to work on a gate reconfiguration, and that's separate of doing the engineering and lanes and what have you on Greenwood as it connects to the circle. So we have two groups functioning right now. And Cliff is working with the gate reconfiguration group, and I'm taking a little more of a lead in the Greenwood. So I'm going to have Cliff talk first about the gate reconfiguration and redeployment of some new technology. If you would, Cliff.
Okay, thank you, Tom. As Tom mentioned, the gate task force is really running on its own path with identifying software solutions and just process operation solutions. But then we'll also be collaborating and coordinating with the Greenwood effort so that it is a seamless end result. But first, I'd like to thank Ann Esposito. She's been very, very hard at work within our group developing a request for information for the market. So going out to the software market, the gate entry access market to determine what solutions are applicable and available to us for review. And so we have this RFI well into the draft stages, defining the scope and refining it. And really our next steps are to collaborate with CSA staff just to make sure that what we're seeking is functional and works for operations. So that's really our next steps. We do intend to get this request for information out to the market within the next 45 days. And that would be supportive of receiving proposals from the marketplace in late June, early July. So that's short next couple of milestones. There would be due diligence that we'll work through on understanding what solutions are out there and what we recommend to the board would come later this fall, sometime in the October frame. So that's really kind of our milestone list. These software solutions are going to tackle things that are causing slowdowns at the gate today. Some of which are gate passes and where those are located, welcome center gate. There's some confusion with drivers. So looking at what options we might have for producing passes at the gate. And then, our second biggest issue is cash. We're a cash only business at the gate. And as we all know, cash holders are dwindling. And so we want to look at some cashless solutions as well. But there are many other smaller issues that we're going to tackle, and overall goal is to expedite gate throughput and improve customer service. That's my update.
Thank you.
Good. All right, Cliff, thank you very much. I think in my mind, the one major change is here that we're focusing on technology improvements into the future. We're trying to look forward 10 years or 15 years and understand what technology is available to, as Cliff said, to move our traffic through our gate and also make it a welcoming environment. That's a little different. I think in the past, we were kind of looking more at some physical changes, lanes and buildings, but really appreciate the work that Cliff's doing and Ann especially. We're on a good trend there. The other piece that is interesting is doing Greenwood Avenue. As I mentioned before, at the current time, that Greenwood Road is owned and operated by CSA. It connects to the Circle, which is a state highway. We had basically a couple of groups working on this. The town is working on re-engineering the Circle for the state in an interesting scenario. And we were starting to look at re-engineering Greenwood. Together with the town, we have come together and made that one joint engineering project. It did not make sense to look at that as two pieces, the circle and then Greenwood, and perhaps have two engineering efforts. So we have CSA has hired the same engineering firm that the town is using, Kimberly Horn, on the circle. So at this point in time, we have let's call it a one project approach to the circle and Greenwood. They have to be engineered together. It does not make sense to be looking at those as separate entities. And I should have started out with the fact that one of the key deliverables from our engineering firm is that we want a 10 to 15-year traffic forecast for the circle and for Greenwood Avenue. It doesn't appear often here in the Low Country that we start out with a traffic forecast. We tend to start with solutions before we have perhaps the need defined. So we're spending some time and money to understand what that will look like in terms of traffic for the next 10 or 15 years in the circle and Greenwood, and also understand by user. And that's the information we will feed to Cliff as we look at the reconfiguration of the gate, as opposed to guest service property owners, who's going through the gate. That helps us look at our lane designation. So that's a key effort to understand the future of the traffic flow. So the two opportunities could be problem areas. We look at them as opportunities we have to work on in the task force is timing and funding. We have brought the group together under one project. We probably, as CSA, we would like to have this project done much sooner than the town or SCDOT. So we will be in a position to understand and try to promote some way to expedite the construction of the circle and Greenwood Avenue. So that'll be a challenge for all of us, for the community and for the task force. That's one area we have to spend our resources. Secondarily, and I think David covered this pretty well, is funding. This will be a reconfiguration of the lanes on Greenwood. It will be a costly project, and in working with the county and town and the tax amendment and SCDOT's fundings, we want to find a way to fund this project as a group and basically take a lot of burden off CSA. So that'll be another opportunity area that we have to resolve and come to a nice solution. We want to bring this in terms of, I guess I should say, by mid-April, we will have some, our engineering firm will be giving us some options, some engineering designs for a reconfiguration of Greenwood. So we'll look at those and be sharing those when it's possible. Then by October, I think as Cliff mentioned, the task force will be giving the board a recommendation on reconfiguration of the gate with newer technology or using the technology available. And then we will be also recommending a new design on Greenwood and how that will be funded. So that is our deliverable, to have that to the board. And I think that's it, David. If there's any questions from the board members or Steve.
Steve?
Yeah, so if we are relying on the funding from the sales tax issue, realistically, when would those funds even be available? If that passed in November to keep that 1%, I'm assuming you can't, is this a 28, 29? How long do you have to wait to tap into those funds? Because if they put the sales tax in place, those funds aren't all available right away. That 60 million doesn't immediately become available, does it?
Yes and no. That's negotiable with the county, quite honestly, and we're starting to have conversations about that. That the county is raising that money, and they do not necessarily have a priority on the way they're going to spend that money. So obviously we would like to get in there and be at the head of the list if our engineering is done on the project. So yes, that's a key thing we have to negotiate with the county and also with the state. There are state funds. It's a state highway. So there's two funding sources we really have to look at and get them in line.
Sam, you want to add something?
Yes, just go back to my old local government days. A lot of times, once a county or a city has a guaranteed revenue source, when they have a list of projects that they want to expedite, they will also go to the bond market and they will fund those projects through a bond funding so they can immediately begin the projects and then allow the revenue stream to pay the bonds. Certainly you incur the interest costs in, but in terms of real cost of construction, the sooner you get those projects in the ground, the cheaper the projects are going to be. And most times the interest associated with bonds will will save dollars as opposed to waiting 5, 6, 7 years to do the project. So the key is getting the sales tax referendum passed, getting the piece in place, and then we really have some options working with the county, whether it's in real time or going to the market and securing resources from the bond market and turning those proceeds into a revenue bond to get the project done. But the $60 million lift is a big lift, and it's something Seapounds can't do. We've got to have others to do it.
Yep.
And let me add some things that I've been told, that first of all, they're anticipating that at least the tax will raise $95 million a year. So it's a very substantial sum going forward. And as Sam said, that's traditionally the way that they get money to fund larger projects, is issue the bonds. The other thing I think is an interesting piece of information that the estimate is from those people who seem to know who pays sales taxes and where they come, is approximately 65% of the amount of money is going to come from visitors and not from residents of Hilton Head. So it's always been a good source of money for them. And when this other bond expired, this makes a great opportunity that the county is interested in doing this. But as I said, it is not a done deal. We've got to first get the county board to approve it, and then we have to go to election and we'll have the electorate. Larry, you have your hand up.
Yeah, Cliff, you earlier talked about signage, and then we're talking about technology at the gate. It seems to me, at least based on the number of times I've come through the gate when there's someone waiting there in the wrong lane, where are you putting the increased and improved? Hopefully, the people will read them signage in the context of automating the gate, because if you automate it and someone stops, it doesn't really matter. So where does signage come in?
That's a good point, Larry. So we do have a signage effort that is separate, that is more short term. And so we have, because, one thing we can do is modify the signage really immediately. And while the software solution is going to take time to roll out, we had a meeting that Senator Tom Davis arranged, which was great, with the SCDOT folks to talk about this. And their initial commitment was to produce some conceptual signage improvements that they felt would be an immediate impact, positive impact. And so we've been working with them on these concepts. We've been getting piecemeal conceptual solutions that really just address Greenwood and not the other three legs of the circle. So I think we definitely intend to continue to press them for a comprehensive plan, and are in the works of doing that. But the idea was that we would be able to produce a plan and move forward with that a lot, in the year, for the year. There are some recent concerns with some correspondence that we've gotten from them regarding funding. Again, I think there's still some questions there. So we intend to re-engage Senator Tom Davis to help with those discussions as well.
Thank you, David. I have a second question, if I may, and this goes as much to Tom. The things you're looking at are relatively mid and long term, is there any discussions underway for finding a shorter term interim solution like lower speed limits around the circle, something that might help open it up while we're trying to redesign?
I think we're hoping the signage would do some of that short term. I think we can look at those with a consulting engineering firm. You know, it's kind of is what it is, and we're going to have most of our efforts going to be placed on getting a longer term solution in place quicker and solve the problem. And I think that's where our effort is going to be. Signage long term will be very important. The key is getting people in the right lanes, and we'll try to do that with the new designs and dedicated efforts. So that is a key issue to be resolved. But short term, I think there'll be some review of it, but not a lot of effort, quite honestly, Larry. We want to get a final solution in place sooner than later and push for that timing and put our energies there and money.
And to tag along with what Tom is saying is that when the engineers get here, we'll have a better understanding of those things, whether something. There have been discussions and suggestions by people on controlling the traffic lights that enter in the circles and alternate them and things of that nature. But those are things that we need engineers to talk with to see if something can be done to implement earlier than the longest term solution. But and we also continue meetings with the town to discuss those, because the town would, also be involved in any type of signage or traffic light as it comes into the circle, leads into the circle. Yep. And if any of you have been there, you'll see when you see the long lines of traffic. And I was coming back Sunday and from somewhere on the William Hilton approaching the circle, and the line down on Palmetto Bay was way past the traffic light of people waiting to, get on. It was a long line to get onto the circle. And those long lines occupy the circle and makes it difficult for anybody else to get on, as you all know. So I'm not telling you anything new, but we're going to have the conversation. But as Thomas said, that's probably going to be in a longer term solution than it would be a shorter term.
And let me just conclude that we're really going to need the community support, much like you said, David, both to talk to our town council and the county and the tax amendment. We need to take more of a vocal position in this, especially when we try to move the timing forward and not be considered another project long term that goes on and on. So I think there's a feeling, an engineering feeling, that Greenwood and the circle can be separated as a project on its own and completed, and it doesn't have to get lost somewhat in the total reconfiguration of the transportation on the island, which seems to be a tendency right now with our town council and the way they're looking at things. So we probably have to become a little more vocal on isolating this project and getting it done so it doesn't get caught into long-term. Transportation projects tend to drag on and on, but this one I think can be segregated and solved sooner than later, and that'll be our approach. And we'll need the community's support on that. And that's it.
Any more questions or comments? This is a very, very important issue to our community. So, we're giving everything we can to try to make it work. But we do, as we've said before, and Tom reiterated, we need our community, our property owners, to support it and become vocal, not with us, but with the governmental officials, and to let them know they're interested in it, that it means something to them. Okay, with that, I'm going to move on to the next item, the financial. We have approved amendment to the budget.
Yes, I'll take that over, David.
Okay, go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. the Finance Committee met last week and reviewed proposed budget amendments. There are 3 projects: South Sea Pines Drive, the Baynard Cove to Land's End, Heritage Woods Leisure Trail, and the entrance signs being refurbished and replaced. These are looking for approvals for timing. So these are where the projects are ongoing. There were costs incurred in 2023 that were less than what was anticipated. So we would like to roll those funds into the budget for 2024. Secondly, there is new monies being requested for the Ocean Gate repave, and we've heard a lot about the necessity for that. So we have kind of 2 buckets of funds that we're looking for budget amendments. Basically, the Finance Committee approved the amendment to the budget for 2024 to include $155,000 of unused budgeted major repairs and maintenance funds and $262,000 of unused critical infrastructure funds to roll forward into the CSA budget 2024 as presented. And then the amendment also included $59,250 of operating funds to be used to repave the Ocean Gate and surrounding area. I am making that motion on behalf of the board.
Somebody
Second.
second it? I got a second.
Sure.
Any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Any opposed, raise your hand. Okay, passes unanimously. I'm gonna go to skip unfinished business for a second, go to new business.
It looks like Bob Gossett raised his hand, so I just want to point that out.
What's that?
Yeah, we're
Bob-
gonna come to Bob in just a minute.
We'll come to Bob in just a
Okay,
second.
got it.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to new business. The appointment of the nominating members for Class A and Class B. The resolution is resolved, Sea Pines Community Services Associates, Inc., Board of Directors approves appointment of the Sea Pines CSA nominating committee members. Class A for 2024, David Perdue, Chairman, Jim Caskey and Leanne Lay, members. And Class B 2024, Don Sigmund as Chair and Rick Ray as a member. So I will move that be adopted. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor, please raise your right hand. Any opposed? Same sign. Passes unanimously. Okay, now I'm gonna come back to unfinished business and Bob Gossett. We couldn't make contact earlier for him to comment and give his comments as regarding the pool at South Beach. Bob, are you there? Where did we? Yeah, there you are.
I'm here.
You have any comments you want to add to the pool conversation?
Yeah, I just raised my hand a minute ago to vote for the what you asked for as far as the vote from the board. As far as the South Beach pool, I think you pretty much covered it, but I understand there's a lot of inaccurate information on social media. I'm not sure how it got started, but it includes the fact that the pool's being demolished and not being put back. The CSA has not given accurate information to the property owners, and none of that's true. So while I haven't actually read the social media post, I've had people relay them to me, and anyone who asks me, the pool, as you said, Dave, is 55 years old. We've gotten to the point we can no longer fix and patch it up. And we've been working since 2018 with land planners, architects, and as well as pool professionals about what is the best way to fix the pool. So as you know, we just got the first phase of South Beach redevelopment through the town, through ARB. We've got our permits, and the pool is the second in line. As I said, we've already spent a significant amount of time and money on conceptions, drawings, and again, consulting with pool professionals about the best approach to take. That pool is something we inherited. It's not a profit center for us. We basically took it over around the year 1999, and we're committed to keep that as a service to the community. But it's come to the point that we made the decision to fix all the problems, to build a better facility, and have that ready as soon as possible. And again, as Dave said, there are other pool facilities available to property owners while we're undergoing this project.
Okay, anybody have any questions about it? All right, the next item really is, unless somebody has any comments they want to make, is adjournment, and then we'll go to questions and answers. Stephanie, if you have any new questions that have come in, please get us to us, because if it's just existing questions, I will go in as soon as we adjourn. All right, at this stage, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
A second. Okay, motion been made and seconded. All in favor, raise your hand. Thank you. Stephanie, are you there? You haven't sent me any new questions, so I'm assuming what we had before the meeting is everything?
Hi, David, that's correct. We do not have any new questions for you at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I think there were a number of questions on the swimming pool at South Beach. I think those have been answered and several times in the course of this conversation. I have a question that a neighbor is draining his pool into a pit in our open space. And that they're questioning whether, that is permitted to happen. We asked Ryan Cash, our code enforcer, to check with the town. He checked with the town, and he spoke to and he's also spoke to the lady that wrote the question. And the town has told him it's a preferred way to drain water towards open space, away from residential properties and the roadway, to help filter any possible contaminants in the water. So that's actually the way that they prefer that it happen. We have a question. Are owners responsible to keep their wooded lots free of downed trees and other debris? The short answer is yes. They should be removed from undeveloped properties and the vegetation undergrowth, and they ought to be maintained as so not to detract aesthetics from the neighborhood.
David, let me add one thing that is for developed lots and properties. That does not apply to CSA open space, the forest preserve, things of that nature. So when we talk about those things, those natural spaces that CSA maintains, those trees falling down as part of the natural process, so we're excluded from that as it relates to the level of maintenance we provide, because it's not practical and it's not warranted on our open space.
Thank you. Violations of that can be reported to the Community Standards Department. And so if anyone, has any issues with that. We have a question concerning why do we allow Hilton Head property owners access to sea ponds on an annual fee of only $50? And it's upsetting because the property owners in sea ponds have to pay to maintain the infrastructure of the community. We also have to deal with traffic get in and out of the community. And at the very least, the annual pass should be much more expensive to help offset the cost of maintaining our roads. But the fee on these passes, the nature of these passes are governed by something called the gate agreement. And there are several parties to the gate agreement and require their unanimous agreement to make any changes in the gate agreement. That is one of the issues that we would like to address, but until we can get the parties who have the rights to either accept or refuse to accept any changes we request, there's not much we can do. And that issue has been discussed and several times. And I don't know what else to say. It's one of the limitations of working with in sea pines with CSA. We are controlled by many types of documents, covenants were put in place by other people, which remains in effect. It's not like laws on the books, which we or somebody else could just change easily. And so we have no alternative but to abide by those requirements.
Can I add a couple comments to that, David?
You sure can.
In addition, the question of adding to the maintenance of the facilities and roads and things of that nature, you know, the value to CSA receives resources and revenues from a bunch of different sources. One of those is from the commercial owners who benefit from the Pelican passes being sold. We receive an assessment paid to us based on volume of sales that come through the gates. So when local residents are encouraged to come into Sea Pines and use our commercial facilities, whether it's Resort, Salty Dog, any of the other commercial entities, CSA does receive a benefit from that with the annual assessment paid by the resort and the commercial owners. So we do receive some additional benefit other than the $50 sale of the gate pass to the local residents as part of that. So and for us as a community, having restaurants and facilities, commercial facilities that are very viable and provide a high level of hospitality is one of the benefits of being in Sea Pines, the quality and the caliber of the restaurants we have here. So those folks need to have patrons coming in and using them year round. And so that's really the value, not just to CSA, but to the entire community. And it is limited to Hilton Head residents. This is not something that's offered to the entire state of South Carolina, those things. So I just wanted to add that additionally.
That's a good addition to it. As I said, you know, we're a complicated community. And, you know, we struggle to work through a lot of these things and deal with them and maneuver. It's not easy. We try to do what we can to enhance the life of the people in this community and to deal with these problems where one point we have one hand tied behind our back. And, you know, but we do the best we can. And I hope the community can see by the reports that are given today and with the topics and issues that we're dealing with, this is what we're trying to address. We're trying to address things that will enhance the life of our property owners and enjoyment of this community and to maintain our housing values and such. We work for the benefit of our community. No one on this screen that you see, and none of the board members, I say, get paid for doing any of the work for CSA. These are volunteers, and these volunteers contribute their tremendous experience and talents that they have had in the business world and coming forth. And it's a pleasure to be able to work with this much talent in one room. Sometimes we bump our egos against each other, everybody and me, because everybody else is really accomplished. So it's a nice thing to be able to see this generosity that people who are willing to serve our community and spend this amount of time. So I thank you. I want to thank the board. I want to thank the property owners. You're a great place. You've made this a great place to live. I hope you're enjoying it, particularly this time of the year. The tournament coming up, we close our eyes during the summer a little bit, or maybe we open them wider. But life here is good, and we intend to try to keep it that way. So with that, I thank you all. I thank our property owners. I thank our board. I thank our staff. This is a good team effort, and we'll try to continue to make some progress. Thank you.